My son's friend missed his ride home, and in one stormy night, I realized who made me feel alive again. It was just a casual hangout, video games, leftover pizza, the kind of night where time disappears. By the time I realized how late it was, the rain outside had turned into a full-blown downpour. Sheets of water hammered the street, and I could barely see across the yard through the window. I checked my phone again. Still dead. My ride had already bailed. My best friend, Kyle, shrugged lazily from the couch, mumbling that he was heading to bed. He didn't seem to care whether I made it home or not. But his mom did. She appeared from the hallway, hair loosely tied back, wearing a soft navy sweater that fell comfortably on her shoulders. She carried herself in this calm, graceful way, like nothing could startle her, except maybe seeing a soaked guest on her doorstep. "You're not walking home in that storm," she said firmly, arms crossed but smiling. "Stay until it lightens up. Please." Usually, I don't argue with moms, but something about her voice made me want to listen. Like she wasn't just being polite. She genuinely cared. "It's okay," I tried to joke. "A little rain never hurt anyone." Thunder cracked so loud the walls vibrated. She raised an eyebrow. "Try again." I laughed awkwardly. My pulse was quicker than it should have been. Why was I nervous? She was my friend's mom. Just his mom. She disappeared into the laundry room and came back with a fluffy towel, pressing it into my hands. Her fingers brushed my wrist, warm and soft. I felt that tiny moment way too much, like my skin captured the memory instantly. "There," she said, stepping a little closer. "Dry off before you catch a cold." Her perfume, something gentle and flowery, drifted up with the steam of chamomile tea she poured for me. She set it on the coffee table, then sat on the edge of the armchair across from me, watching the storm with a thoughtful expression. Candlelight from the dining area flickered across her cheekbones, making her look almost unreal. I wrapped the towel around my shoulders and tried not to stare, but she had this quiet beauty, the kind you notice in the spaces between words. "Sorry we kept you here longer than planned," she said softly. "I don't mind," I admitted before I could censor myself. "Actually, I kind of like it here." Her eyes lifted to mine, surprised, then slowly warm. "Thank you," she whispered, like people didn't tell her that very often. For a moment, the storm outside felt miles away. The house hummed with a soft stillness, just the sound of rain against the roof and the faint clink of her bracelets whenever she moved. I wasn't supposed to stay this late. I wasn't supposed to notice her the way I did. But sitting there, wrapped in the scent of chamomile and rain, I realized something. I didn't want to leave. Not yet. Maybe not ever. After Kyle went upstairs, the house felt different. Quieter, like it was finally paying attention to us. The storm still rattled the windows, but in the living room, everything felt soft, dim, safe. She sat back down on the couch, tucking one leg beneath her, and patted the space beside her. "You'll see the TV better from here," she said. But we both knew neither of us cared about the muted sitcom flickering on the screen. I took the seat she offered, cautious at first, careful to keep a polite distance. Still, I could feel the warmth from her leg near mine, and I swear, I could hear her breathing slow, controlled, like she was reminding herself to stay calm. "So," she asked with a small smile, "what's next for you? After college?" No one asks me that like they're actually interested, but she listened like my future mattered, like I mattered. I told her about my dreams to become an architect, designing places where people feel at home, places that feel like memories instead of buildings. She looked at me for a long moment, really looked. "You have a good heart," she said. "Not many young men think about how things feel. They only care how things look." I swallowed, unsure how to respond. Compliments from girls my age usually sound like jokes. But from her, it felt like truth I didn't know I needed. She laughed softly at something on the screen, that low, warm kind of laugh that feels like a secret. A few of her bracelets slid down her wrist, chiming quietly. I caught myself staring, memorizing every tiny detail. Then she sighed. Just a breath, but it carried weight. "Sometimes," she hesitated, choosing her words carefully. I worry I'm fading into the background. Moms are always needed. Until suddenly we're not. Her voice wasn't sad, just honest. Vulnerable. I angled toward her, lowering my voice like the moment deserved softness. You're impossible to overlook. The words slipped out before I could think them through. She blinked, startled. Her eyes held mine. Not like a mom, not like someone older, but like a woman who hadn't expected to be seen tonight. A flicker of emotion crossed her face. Gratitude, and fear of where gratitude might lead. Lightning flashed again, and thunder rolled hard enough to silence us. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, glancing at me sideways, a little nervous now. "Thank you," she whispered. My heart thudded. Loud. Too loud. She shifted closer ever so slightly, maybe unintentionally. But the space between us faded. Our knees brushed. A tiny spark, but real enough that we both felt it. I tried focusing on the TV, failed miserably. All I could think was how strange and wonderful it felt. To be here, to be trusted, to be noticed by the woman I wasn't supposed to notice back. And the most terrifying part? I didn't want that feeling to stop. The storm didn't let up. If anything, it grew angrier, wind howling like it wanted inside. The TV flickered one last time before the screen went black. Then the whole house followed. Silence. Darkness. Except for the storm's low growl outside. "Oh, great!" she exhaled, trying to laugh it off. "I'll grab some candles." I offered to help, but she waved me off. That confident, take-charge tone she always used with her son. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that being without power changed something. The room suddenly felt more intimate, like the storm had drawn the curtains on the rest of the world. She returned with a handful of candles, placing them around the living room. One near the couch, one on the coffee table, one by the window. She lit each slowly, her movements steady and careful. The violet glow of the lighter briefly illuminated her features before the warm flame chased away the shadows. Candlelight changed her. It softened everything. The curve of her cheek, the warmth in her eyes, the delicate lines earned by years of living and loving. She looked breathtaking, in a way that felt new to me, even though I'd been in this house 100 times. She sat back down, closer this time. The couch dipped gently beneath her weight, shifting me toward her. Our shoulders nearly touched. "This must be the universe forcing us to talk," she teased lightly. I smiled, but inside, nerves darted like electricity. "What should we talk about?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper. She tilted her head, studying me in the glow. "You're quieter tonight. Different somehow." I swallowed. Maybe I'm seeing things differently tonight. Her lips parted just slightly, an almost reaction. She stopped before it became one. But her eyes said enough. They lingered, curious, cautious. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the room like a photograph. Her face turned toward mine, eyes glossy with something unspoken. When darkness returned, we were even closer, without moving. "You're shivering," she murmured. "I'm fine." She didn't believe me. She pulled the throw blanket from behind us, spreading it gently over our laps. Her hand brushed my knee in the process. A feather-light touch that lingered longer than necessary. Under the blanket, warmth pooled between us. Our arms brushed. Not by accident this time. "This is strange, isn't it?" she said. "Yes," I admitted, but not in a bad way. Her chest rose in a deep breath. She tucked her hair behind her ear, fingers trembling just barely. The kind of nervousness you feel when a line is being drawn, and you're already stepping over it. Her perfume, jasmine and rain, drifted closer. My pulse quickened. My mind screamed rules, consequences, reasons to pull away. But my heart, it just wanted one thing. Stay here. Stay close. Don't let the moment end. The storm outside roared on, but inside, there was a quieter one. One made of breaths, glances, and the impossible desire not to ruin what we both knew shouldn't even begin. Minutes passed, maybe longer, wrapped in quiet and candlelight. The storm had settled into a steady rhythm, raindrops tapping the windows like a heartbeat. Safe, consistent, It made the silence between us feel less like emptiness and more like a blanket around our shoulders. She stared ahead at the candle flame, not quite meeting my eyes. Something was working in her chest. Something she wasn't used to saying out loud. When Kyle was little, she began softly, I used to think I had everything figured out, that a mother just keeps giving and giving, and somehow, she never runs out. Her voice cracked slightly. She forced a small laugh to soften it. But life takes from you too, quietly, without warning. I listened, really listened. There was so much behind her words, years of being strong because she had no other choice. She looked down at her hands. I don't let people see this side of me, the tired side, the side that still wants someone to take care of her sometimes. I shifted, turning toward her fully. You deserve that. Everyone does. She finally met my gaze, and her eyes looked deeper than I'd ever seen them. Not sad, not broken, just human, honest. And what about you? She asked. Who sees your real self? No one, I admitted before thinking. I'm always the guy who laughs, the guy who has everything handled. But most of the time, I'm just trying not to disappoint anyone. She drew in a breath, slow and careful, like the truth had connected us in a way neither of us planned. You don't disappoint me, she said. Her voice was so quiet, it almost blended with the rain. I felt those 4 words settle through me, grounding, important, like she saw something in me I didn't know anyone could see. I noticed her shiver, just a tiny shake in her shoulders. Instinctively, I lifted the blanket higher, tucking it around her. Our arms pressed together, skin against skin, warm and real. Thank you, she whispered. I didn't think. I just did it. My hand rested over hers, gently, asking permission. She didn't pull away. Her fingers curled beneath mine, answering without saying a word. The air changed. Each breath felt heavier, more meaningful. She looked down at our hands, then back up at me with a softness that felt like gravity, pulling me closer. We should be careful, she murmured, but she didn't let go. I know, I whispered back, but right now, this feels right. Her thumb brushed over my hand, slow, nervous, wanting. For the first time, she didn't hide the small smile tugging at her lips. The storm could have ended. The power could have returned. Her son could have walked in at any moment. But in that fragile, impossible moment, there were only 2 people in the world. And neither of us wanted to move. She didn't look away from our joined hands. For a moment, neither did I. It felt as if the room had shrunk to just that one point of contact. Her skin under my fingertips, warm and fragile and somehow braver than either of us felt. Lightning cracked. The candle flames fluttered. She breathed in sharply, then turned her body just a little more toward me. Her knee brushed mine again, but this time she didn't shift away. She stayed, close enough that I could see each tiny fleck of gold in her eyes. I swallowed, suddenly aware of every heartbeat. I said her name softly, came out more tender than I intended, like a secret I'd been holding too long. Her reaction was instant. Her eyes widened just slightly. Her lips parted the smallest bit. Her free hand pressed against her chest, like she needed to steady her heart. Don't, she whispered, but her voice wasn't steady. Don't what? I asked quietly. Don't say my name like that. Her gaze dropped to our hands again. It makes this feel real. The honesty in that one sentence hit me hard. She wasn't pretending anymore. She wasn't hiding behind polite smiles or motherly warmth. She wanted this and feared it in equal measure. I don't want to make you uncomfortable, I said. You don't, she answered too quickly. And then softer. That's what scares me. Her thumb brushed lightly across the back of my hand. Once, then again, a slow stroke that said more than words ever could. A careful invitation. I shifted closer. Our shoulders fully touched beneath the blanket now. She didn't move. Her breath hitched. A soft, barely audible catch of surprise and want. I shouldn't feel this, she breathed, eyes searching mine like she needed me to agree. I know, I admitted. But we do. She closed her eyes at that. Not in dismissal, but surrender to truth. When she opened them again, her guard was gone. We leaned forward at the same time, not enough to cross the line, but enough to feel how thin that line had become. My forehead nearly touched hers. I could feel the warmth of her breath, soft and unsteady, brushing my mouth. Her hand slid from beneath mine, up my arm, slow, hesitant, tracing a silent question on my skin. My whole body reacted to that tiny touch. Not lust, connection. Need. Permission. Then she whispered the hardest word. Stop. Not sharp. Not angry. Just a plea. A tremor. I froze, not because I wanted to, but because I respected her too much not to. She closed her eyes again, letting her palm rest over her lips like she was holding them in place. If anything happens, she said, voice trembling, I don't know if I'll be able to undo it. That was the moment everything changed. When we realized this wasn't a harmless crush or a passing thrill. This was real. Real enough that walking away from it would hurt. Real enough that continuing could rewrite both our lives. The storm raged outside, but the one inside the room was so much louder. For a while, neither of us moved. We just sat there. Two people who had almost stepped into something neither of us were ready to name out loud. Her hand still rested gently on my arm, but the energy around it had changed. Not gone, just restrained. Careful again. And then, as if the universe refused to let us stay suspended in that impossible space any longer, the power snapped back on. The TV blared into life, lights flooded the living room, and we both jerked apart as if we had been caught doing something we never actually did. The blanket slipped from our laps to the floor in a silent fall that felt way too symbolic. She blinked rapidly, adjusting to the brightness, but I knew she was really trying to rebuild the walls she'd let down. She started, but footsteps sounded upstairs. Her eyes widened. Panic, fear, regret, all rushing in at once. She stood so fast the couch cushions bounced. Kyle appeared at the bottom of the stairs, half asleep and scrubbing his eyes. Did the power just come back? He muttered. His mom smiled at him, too quickly, too bright. Yep, storm must be passing. Her voice sounded rehearsed, controlled. The way you talk when you're terrified you might reveal the wrong thing. Kyle turned to me, noticing my jacket still hanging on the chair. Dude, you're still here? I forced a laugh. Yeah. Storm kind of trapped me. He shrugged and yawned. You could have borrowed a charger. Mom hoards those. She cleared her throat, quietly pleading with the universe for the conversation to end. Why don't you grab your jacket? I can take you to the door. Her son, thankfully unaware of the emotional crisis unfolding in real time, climbed back upstairs, leaving us in a silence that felt heavier now under bright lights. I picked up the fallen blanket and folded it carefully, buying myself a few more seconds near her. She stood there, arms wrapped around herself, like she just stepped into cold air. We should forget this, she whispered. And can you? I asked too softly. Her eyes didn't meet mine this time. She stared at the door instead, like escape would save her. No, she breathed. But I have to try. The entryway felt like a border. Crossing it meant returning to the world where I was just her son's friend, and she was just his mom. She opened the door to the quiet post-storm night. The air smelled fresh, but leaving felt wrong, like I was abandoning something unfinished. I slipped on my shoes slowly, watching her hands grip the edge of the door like she needed to hold on to something. Thank you for tonight, I said. She nodded once, but the way her lips pressed together said everything she didn't. When I stepped outside, she should have closed the door, but she didn't. We stood there, separated by inches and a lifetime of reasons we couldn't cross. Good night, she finally murmured. It sounded like a goodbye she wasn't ready for. I walked down the steps, rain still dripping from the gutters, heart pounding like I was leaving behind more than a house. I didn't look back until I felt her still watching. Then I did, and she didn't look away. Sleep didn't come easily. Every time I closed my eyes, I was right back on that couch beside her. Feeling her hand beneath mine, the warmth of her shoulder pressed to me under the blanket. The way she whispered stop but her body hesitated to let go. It wasn't just attraction. It wasn't just a moment. It was her. And pretending otherwise felt like lying. The next afternoon, my phone buzzed. A message, but not from her. It was from Kyle. "Hey, Mom says you left your jacket here. Swing by whenever." My jacket. The excuse neither of us needed, but now had. I must have reread that text a dozen times. Every reason not to go ran through my head. She's older. She's his mom. This could ruin everything. But then the memory of her eyes trembling with hope won the argument. When I arrived, Kyle barely looked up from his game. "Jacket's in the hallway," he said, pointing absently. But she wasn't in the hallway. She was waiting in the kitchen. Like she heard me come in and couldn't keep sitting still. "Hey," she said. 2 letters. But they carried the weight of the night before. She handed me my jacket, but didn't let go immediately. Our fingers tangled for a second that stretched into a silent confession. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "We need to talk about last night." She exhaled, closing her eyes for a brief moment like she'd been bracing for those words. "I've been trying to convince myself it was nothing," she admitted. "That I imagined the connection." Her voice softened. "But I didn't. And you didn't." "No," I whispered. "I didn't." Her lips curved into a tiny, fragile smile. Scared but hopeful. She rested a hand against the doorway for balance, and the distance between us disappeared. "I don't know what this could become," she said. "And I'm terrified of the risks." "I'll protect you from the risks," I promised. She laughed once, emotional, disbelieving. "You can't promise that." "No," I agreed. "But I can promise this. I'm not running from what I feel." That broke something in her. The uncertainty slipped from her shoulders, replaced by a quiet courage. She took a small step forward, just enough that our chests nearly touched. Her hand rose to my face, fingers brushing my cheek with a tenderness too real to deny. "We go slow," she whispered. "No rushing, no secrets. We handle this with care. Promise me that." "I promise." Her thumb traced my jaw once softly, the kind of touch you give to someone who means something. Then she leaned in and placed the gentlest kiss on my cheek. Not a goodbye, not yet a beginning, but a yes. A yes wrapped in caution, hope, and a future we were both terrified to want, but already falling toward. I stepped back only because I had to, because her son was upstairs, and the world was watching even when no one was. "See you soon," she whispered, and I knew she meant it. As I walked away, jacket in hand, the storm had long passed. But inside me, something new was just beginning. If you loved following this slow burn, age gap romance, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more heartfelt stories. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced a connection that felt impossible, yet unforgettable? And turn on notifications so you never miss a story that will make your heart race.